Listen, we have a great show lined up for you. I'm your host, Kim Jacobs, better known as the Balance Doctor. And all of our guests that come on, they're either people that have overcome some tremendous odds in their own lives as they balance this thing called life, or they're experts and they're here to share tips and strategies that will help you better balance and manage your life. Grab your virtual seats and let's get ready for some real, relevant, and relatable content on today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. I hope that you all are ready to get in your virtual seats and have a great experience. I'm so excited to have you all here today with us. And I'm excited to have you, Robin. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here today. Listen, I want everyone to go ahead and grab your virtual seats, share the broadcast, let people know that we are here on our episode and we are excited about you all being here. Share the broadcast and let them know that today's topic is nothing short of amazing. This woman has overcome some tremendous odds. And when we talk about how people balance their aspects of life, their roles, their responsibilities, and what they've had to endure to become who they are today. And Robin Wilson has a story to tell. So I cannot wait for you all to go ahead and tag your friends and invite people to tune into this episode as we talk about how to go from being a stroke survivor thriver to now a business stationery owner thriver. And here to tell her story is Robin Wilson. Robin, glad to have you today.
I'm glad to be here. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
And what in a nutshell, what can people expect? I know we're going to take a commercial break, but I'd love for people to hear from your perspective what they can expect to hear on today's episode.
Well, I look forward to encouraging the listening audience. If someone has had to overcome health challenges, what they can expect to hear is how I overcame health challenges to become a successful business owner. And I also look forward to sharing with them some tips and strategies for starting a stationery business.
Okay. And stationary. That's very niche down and very specific. So I'm interested in hearing your philosophy on that and why. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back right after this break.
My father had 4 of his fingers amputated in a workplace accident. It was the first injured individual I represented. And I knew I had to win that case. When someone walks into my office and they've been injured, I know what they're going through. If you've been injured at work with Hunter and Everett. We've got the experience. So let us help you.
Yes, Hunter Everett does have the experience. Hunter Everett definitely has the experience, and they are eager to work with you. And whether it's a workers' compensation claim or wrongful death of a loved one, or even if it's something that is a disability situation, maybe you've even been denied before, definitely reach out to them if you're in the Carolinas area, Alabama area, or the Richmond, Virginia area. You can call them at 704-457-5000. Again, 704-457-5000. All right, Robin, just take us back because we need to know kind of people don't walk around thinking that, oh, a stroke's getting ready to happen to me anytime soon. You're just living your, I'm sure, your everyday life. What take us back over some of your life's journey and what things were like even prior to the stroke and then what kind of happened. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. I said, take us back, if you will, and just tell us some of your backstory and what life was like for you, even just prior to having a stroke and giving us an idea of what life was like for you.
Absolutely. Well, again, I'm So glad to be here with you today. I'm originally from Inkster, Michigan, which is about 30
Oh,
minutes outside of Detroit.
okay.
And yes, and I'm a proud graduate of the University of Michigan Dearborn, and I am a wife. I'm married to my husband, Kari. We've been married now for 11 years. And I am not only a stationery business owner, but I'm also a teacher. So before I started my stationery company, and even before I had my stroke, I taught in the elementary school grades in DPSCD, which stands for Detroit Public Community School District. And so I have a passion for people. And that's one thing that I think that really makes being a stationary business owner an ideal path for me, because it's about not only having a heart of gratitude, but also it's about helping other people show gratitude as well. And that's what I do. So that's just a little bit about me.
Yeah, so as far as you being in elementary school teaching and then transitioning to entrepreneurship, that's its own that's two totally different dynamics in life. So you go from one extreme to another, and what kind of made you decide that's going to be the case for you in your journey?
In my journey. So I actually came to the classroom as a social entrepreneur, because when I was 22 years old, I started a literacy nonprofit organization to serve my community. And then I transitioned into a leadership role with the Boys and Girls Club of South Oakland County, here in Michigan, where I served as an education director for 3 years before transitioning out of that role. So I actually had some business experience before I entered the elementary school classroom from a social entrepreneur background. And the reason that I entered the classroom initially was because I really thought that just like I had made a difference in the community around literacy, that I could make a difference in the classroom. And while I really enjoy teaching in the elementary school classroom, I knew that after I had my stroke that I really needed to pivot. And I knew that I still wanted to teach, but I knew that I needed a different setting. And so last year I transitioned out of the classroom to pursue full-time entrepreneurship. And I haven't stopped teaching. I
Oh,
still teach
never.
part-time. I said, like I often say to people, once the teacher, always the teacher. But you definitely don't have to be a full-time teacher in an elementary school classroom to be a teacher. So I'm thankful that I get to live my dream of owning my own business, but also teaching part-time.
That's a beautiful decision, and I love the way that you worded it. Once a teacher, always a teacher, because that's a part of who you are and it's embedded in you. So you're going to be teaching for the rest of your life. And that's one of the gifts that God has granted you to be able to teach not only elementary school age people, but also adults and entrepreneurs and other people that are
That's
going to
right.
from your gifting. So I'm excited about it. I can just see it all over you, even virtually. Sometimes when you're virtual, it's like, you know, I, I, I want to reach you, but I can't feel you over there. I can
Yes.
feel you through the whole screen here, and I'm just loving the synergy that's going on here. I'm excited about it. Yeah. So when you think of entrepreneurship, I know I think of resilience and determination. What advice would you give people that are here today that are just trying to determine, I want to go in some direction in my life and I know that I have gifting, but where do I begin? Any thoughts?
You know what? That's a good question. And I have dealt with that question in the past too. As you shared, it definitely takes resilience to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are risk takers, but we're also problem solvers. And so I think that one of the questions that you should ask yourself is, what problem do you solve for people?
Mhm.
Because there's something that you solve for people in a way that maybe perhaps no one else does, and you have to figure out what is your secret sauce. So for me, um, I am a problem solver in the sense that when people think about me and when they come to me, they are looking for things. They know that when it comes to my stationery items, they're looking for things that are one of a kind. I'm known for creating designs that are not only vibrant and modern, but that are vintage. So I call it vintage mod, vibrant vintage mod. And so when you see my work, you know that it's mine, and that's how I think as an artist and as a entrepreneur who's in the stationery space. I think that you know that you found your niche. You know,
Mhm.
um, you found a way to stand out in the crowd. But for even if someone is not in the stationery space, figure out what it is that you solve for other people and that you do very well. And then sit down and write out your vision. There's a scripture that talks about write the vision and make it plain. It
Yeah.
comes from Habakkuk. And I think that that's always wise to do because we should always count the cost in whatever it is that we're doing. And definitely when you're starting a business. So surround.
You know what? Just so you all know, and she'll come back in, but she's actually at an event that she's going to be speaking at shortly. And one thing she just said that made me tag someone is she said, "Find your secret sauce." And so when you're personally trying to determine what business works for you, even though she's in the stationery business and she survived a stroke, she is telling people find your own personal niche and how you can solve a problem for someone. And believe it or not, it's a specific gifting that's right inside of you that's designated for you to solve that person's problem. How do you all identify that this is going to be my focus area? Type it in the comment section. How do you know this is my secret sauce, as Dr. Lotus Roche often says? If you don't know Dr. Lotus Roche, you definitely want to get over there with Dr. Lotus Roche and be able to ignite some passion in your life, because she does the Dr. Lotus Roche Ignites show. She also does news you can use, books that boom. If you're interested in being a guest on a show, definitely go check out Dr. Lotus Roche, and she will take care of you over there and put you on one of her platforms. They're all global. But what do you do to be able to identify what your secret sauce is when it comes to entrepreneurship and business? Because you need to know that in order to know what problem you solve. What problem can you solve? Even if you don't know your business name, your business, anything, what problem do you solve for people? One of the problems that I know I solve for people is I have a program where I teach people how to start their own virtual shows from scratch. And I do it in a way that's universal. You have your video component that you can stream to multiple platforms. I help you with your auto distribution platforms where you stream to places where everyone's pretty much listening on their downloadable devices, electronic devices. Then I also help you where you package it and you sign contracts with companies that stream it to multiple countries. So it's a universal service that I'm offering. I offer it where it's one price, one situation that's split amongst 5 individuals so that it's in bite sized pieces for a 6-week training, and some technical assistance is included in that training. You can't beat that with any kind of stick. So I know the service that I'm offering is tremendous value to the person that's receiving it on the receiving end. All right, so she's popping back in the back office. What we're going to do is take a quick, let me see. Did any comments come in? I'd love to be able to share some of your thoughts as we pull our expert back in, Miss Robin Wilson. I'm going to go to some of the comments that came in the studio audience, Robin. And don't worry if you have to go out and come back in. I know you have a speaking engagement today, and I'm quite excited for it as well. I know you're going to do a fantastic job. Uganda said, "Good morning. Good morning to you, Ugandi." And glad we have people tuning in from all different places around the country. So thank you for being here. Let's see. Dr. Lotus Richey said, "Hello, lovely ladies. Thank you for bringing this great show. Thank you." And yes, always count the cost. And she says, "Get in your secret sauce because you are the solution to someone's challenge." Yes, yes. And great question, Kim. Let's see. This is what we ask our business coaching clients, and we do a deep dive into their intentions. Yes, and I can only imagine you and your team, you have a global team that works in that capacity. Thank you, Dr. Richey. We also dive into the intention that God or their higher source has for them. Excellent. Excellent. And someone else said, "Great advice as well so far." Dayron said that, "I really enjoy tuning into your show and viewing your interesting guests." Thank you, Dayron. Dayron is the author of 101 Things That You Should Know About Jail. Definitely want to get that book, okay? And I see you're tuning in from sunny San Diego. All right. Glad to have you here today. Listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll come right back with Robin Wilson, who's back in the studio audience. We'll be right back. All right, everyone, and we are back with Robin Wilson. Robin,
Yes.
hey, I know you're at a speaking engagement, and so we're just glad to have you here today and trying to be on the move here. Listen,
Yes.
talk
It
to us.
was meant for us to reconnect.
Definitely, definitely. Now,
Yeah.
talk to us about the fact that there are some people that are trying to determine what their creative side is, and maybe they have a full-time job and they're trying to transition to entrepreneurship. Do you have any advice for people in that regard?
I do. What I was going to share before we were disconnected was just that find your community. You know what? It takes a community to build a business,
Yes.
and not only your customers, but it also takes people supporting you in various ways. And so there are several different programs in the Metro Detroit area here that includes Tech Town. I have a business coach through Tech Town. There is the Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance, which I'm currently in the Capital Connect cohort number 7. So, for those of you who are listening who live in the Metro Detroit area specifically, those are some resources locally that you can tap into. And even if you are not in the Metro Detroit area, learn about your business and entrepreneurial ecosystem in your city.
Good.
Reach out to your local chambers of commerce and ask them for referrals to different business owners who you might be able to support and who may be able to possibly mentor you, because having that strong community around you will help you not only to grow your business, but it will help you to grow as a professional and as an entrepreneur.
I love that advice. And so finding your community, making sure that you check with your local chamber of commerce, no matter where you are in the country, if you have access to those resources, making sure that you tap into them and just having a conversation with how you can, what can we do to better each other? It doesn't
That's
have to be
right.
that only what am I going to get from this, but what are we going to do to collaborate and make this a better experience for both of us in our different business ventures. And so I love
That's
that. I
right.
love that. I love that feedback. Now, you personally endured a stroke, and I want to make sure I share from the CDC that strokes, according to the CDC.gov, and I'll put that link in the comment section, more than 795,000 people in the United States alone have a stroke annually. That's huge amount of
Huge.
people. And about 610,000 of those are first or new stroke victims.
That's
So
right.
these are not just, oh, this is just happening and reoccurring so much. It's actually happening for the first time, and it is causing significant either death. 1 in 6 actually, according to the statistics, die
That's right.
when they have the stroke. And the
That's right.
cost associated with dealing with stroke related incidents in this particular article was $56.5 billion at that time of this release of this article. That
That's right.
is staggering numbers. So when you experienced your stroke, Robin, take us back to that time.
Again, I was still teaching in the classroom. It was the middle of the pandemic, where the pandemic had originally really started when we entered the pandemic. So I was teaching online at the time, and I had just put my laptop away. It was really late at night. It was almost midnight, and
Mm,
I told my husband, who had already laid down for the evening. I told him that I was going to turn in for the evening because I knew that I was getting ready to get up in the morning to teach online. And right when I laid my head down, I knew that something was different. Now, I did not. It was like I wasn't able to hear myself speaking initially, but my husband, he said, "What?" twice, and I thought he didn't hear me, but he did hear me. I wasn't making any sense. And the reason that I wasn't making any sense was because my expressive speech, it was impaired at that point, and I still wasn't making the connection that it could be a stroke, because my husband, I think he thought that it could be a stroke, because he immediately asked me, "Can you feel my touch? Can you smile for me?" So
mm,
he walked me through those steps, and I could do all of those things. It was just that my expressive speech was impaired. And so thank God he kept me through
yeah.
the night, because not knowing that I had a stroke, I begged my husband to just let me rest because I was tired, and I thought that I just needed to rest. I thought that if
Mm,
I just slept and woke up in the morning, I would be okay. But I wasn't because my speech still had not fully returned. And I managed to let my supervisor, my principal, know that I would not be able to teach online. And my husband took me to the University of Michigan Hospital, and that's where my doctors are. And so
mm,
they ran tests because of some of my previous health history. They just wanted to make sure that they were ruling out everything. And I'm so grateful that they did,
mm. I
because
am too.
looking at me, aside from the impairment in my expressive speech, I was just you would not know that I had had a stroke, but the testing revealed that I very much did have a stroke, and that a blood clot had traveled to my brain. And but by the grace of God, I did not
Wow.
pass away, because they were able to see the blood clot on the imagery. When they ran the scans, they saw it, but within 48 hours, my speech had returned, and within a week and a half, I was able to return to work.
Wow. And so the symptoms that you were having, you didn't even have any symptoms that you knew of. They were unbeknownst to you.
That's right. It was just the expressive speech. My expressive speech was impaired. And if I had, I think that if I had been thinking more clearly,
Mhm.
again, I think that probably was related to having had the stroke. But if I had been thinking more clearly, I probably would have been thinking like my husband was. I think he thought that it could be a stroke before I did.
Right.
And when we think about strokes, we often think about someone not being able to walk or facial drooping, and
Mhm.
that can be a part of it,
Right.
very
Yeah.
much. But you do not have to have those symptoms to be having a stroke.
Well, you could even be, I wonder, having some of those symptoms, but thinking is, oh, I'm tired or I'm
That's right.
tingly, or you, because I know I don't think I don't want to claim any symptoms ever, and I don't
That's
believe in that
right.
ever.
I
So
don't blame you.
keep that away from this body.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there are things that I know I personally associate with, oh, Kim, you just need to take a quick nap. You need to
That's
just
right.
rest or whatever. But hearing you speak about it, it may be some things that you just, as an individual watching this or hearing this broadcast today, that you want to possibly look into more and find out why are you having those particular symptoms. In this case, according to the CDC, sudden numbness, face, arm, leg on one side. If you're having any of that, keep in mind that that could be symptoms of a stroke. Sudden confusion, trouble seeing, trouble
Mhm.
walking, severe headache for no known reason. You don't typically have headaches. These are things that you really should consider calling 911. And I wrote some of those down from the CDC. Uh,
That's right.
but in your case, you made it through. How was it? Was your journey back to recovery?
When I've talked to individuals about returning to work just one weekend, a week and a half after being released from the hospital,
Mm,
um, I'm often met with these stares because it's like, how could you do that?
mm,
And, in retrospect, maybe I should have taken more time for myself. But to be quite honest with you, at that time, it actually was reassuring for me to be able to return to teaching online because it gave me a sense of normalcy. And I think when you talk to anyone who has had a stroke, I think most people at one point or the other they come to a point where they do fully accept what they've just experienced, so they process it.
mm,
But there's also this part of you that wants to return to the way that your life was before you had a stroke, because you're looking for that sense of normalcy. And for me, that was reassuring for me to be able to return to teaching online.
good.
My scholars were very important to me, so I wanted to teach. And I did not share with my colleagues until the end of that school year that I had had a stroke. My principal knew,
Right.
but she left it up to me and whether or not to disclose that to anyone else, for obvious reasons. But, when I even told my colleagues about me having had a stroke, they were shocked. And some of them even cried when we were on the virtual meeting call because they didn't know. And I think it was scary to hear. I think
Mhm,
that's maybe what triggered some tears from some of my colleagues. And but I let them know that I was doing just fine. And I only give praise to God for bringing me through that, because there was a time where I had to process my emotions on
mhm,
a deep level, because you do reach a point when you do allow yourself to become still enough where it really hits you. It's like, wait a minute, I do need to slow down a little bit,
mhm.
because I've just gone through this hard thing and I just kept going. And so I did experience that. It was somewhat delayed, like the crying is what I'm referring to, was delayed, but I did that privately. So no one really knew,
Yeah.
that I was processing it on a deep emotional level several months afterwards. But you know what? Um, God is faithful. I also had a really great counselor that I saw. And that's another thing that I would just encourage those who are listening, that if you or someone has experienced a stroke, it is absolutely okay to seek counseling, because whether or not you are viewing it as a major event in your life, that is a major event. And I think for those who may be like me, I am a fighter in the sense that um, if I can keep pushing and if I can keep going, I want to live. I love my life and I love God, and so I'm a fighter. So I'm like, if I can keep going, I'm going to keep going. But sometimes it's okay to pause, to
Definitely.
rest, and to say, you know what, I need a moment for myself. And I took that time for myself.
And I'm glad you did, and encouraging other people too as well. And sometimes when I hear people like that are survivors or thrivers like yourself, they link it back directly to rest, relaxation, different things like that. I'm wondering, and I don't know the answer, that's why I'm asking. Why is it that that is the piece that you lean back on, that could have been the problem, or the problem that caused the situation? Is it because you already knew you were doing too much, to just doing the most, and you already knew something was going to pop off? What
Yeah.
Tell us what your theory is in that.
So, I do think that leading up to getting my diagnoses, my doctors they initially thought that it actually had something to do with my heart because
Mhm.
individuals who are born, I will be 40 next year, so I was 1 week shy of my 37th birthday when I had my stroke, and I was the vegan. I worked out at the gym every day. I was
Mhm.
proactive about my health. So I'm sharing that to say I'm not a smoker. I don't have diabetes or high blood pressure. So my disbelief really came from a place of, but I'm healthy. I'm relatively healthy. Like everything that they tell you to do,
You did it,
to-
and
I
now you
did it.
still. Wow, I wouldn't have even known that would have been your answer. So you actually did everything you were instructed to do. You considered
Right.
going into vegan, exercising, healthy as you could be, a lot of not non-pre-existing factors because you didn't
Factor.
have those, and you still experienced this.
That's right. And
Huh.
my doctors, they believed initially that it had something to do with my heart because individuals are born with what's called a PFO, but and that's like a tiny hole in your heart.
Mhm.
But in most people, it will close during infancy after birth. But
Mm.
in some people, it doesn't always close, and it doesn't typically cause you any issues. But in some individuals like myself, it can come to light that you have a PFO if you experience something like a stroke that causes, especially when you're as young as I was when I had my stroke, and they then go in and do the imaging and then they see the PFO. But in my case, they told me that they saw the PFO, they did an echocardiogram with the bubble testing, and
Okay.
so that's where they they look at your heart and they see if there's the bubble, if it goes through what looks like a hole in the imagery that they're taking, then
Wow.
they think, or from what they see, that there's a hole in your heart. So they sent me to a cardiologist, and I did consult with a cardiologist, and he also thought that it would be best for me to get the hole closed. And I have a history of DVT. So for those of you who are listening who may not be aware of what DVT is where if you've had a blood clotting event, I did. When I first married, 3 months after I married, I developed blood clots in both of my legs and my abdomen. So
Mm.
from that point on, I have been on blood thinners. And that also really surprised my doctors because having a blood clot develop and travel to my brain while I'm on blood thinners was also concerning to my doctors. So they ran the test
Hmm.
and then they went in to do the surgery. And when they went in to do the surgery to close the hole, then they said, "Well, we don't see it." And so they really don't know, and I know that's a lot, but they really are not quite sure. And all I can say is that I'm thankful that God kept me and that He has allowed me to be able to do all of the things that I feel purpose to do. 2 months after I was released from the hospital, I gave a keynote speech. And and no one knew that 2 months prior to that I had a stroke.
My
So,
goodness. Mm.
God is good, and, I what I tell people is that, if you have breath in your lungs, you
Yeah.
have purpose. and I have breath in my lungs, and my life still has purpose. And just because I had to pivot from teaching in the classroom full time, my life is still full and I'm
Mhm.
still thriving.
That's good. That's so good. If you have breath in your lungs, you may have to pivot, but you still are thriving. And you're
Yeah.
thriving specifically in a specific kind of business. I want to pop this up because I know that during any type of recovery, even during the capturing of the moment to say something is wrong, is somebody that plays a key factor in that. So just tell me this,
Yeah.
tell me who this is.
Yes, this is my Boaz. This is my husband, Kari. And his name is Kenyan and it means king, and he very much is kingly. He watches out for us. He cares for me, and I'm so thankful to have him. A lot of things that we've been through, some couples couldn't make it through, and even this past year that I've been doing my, business, like he's been really supportive of me. He was supportive of me transitioning out of my role as a full-time teacher. And so that meant that he shouldered a lot more responsibility, but he's been there with me, so I'm grateful.
I'm so grateful as well. I have a few other pictures too because I want to make sure we get a chance to talk through some of this. What is this?
Yes, this is my first children's book that was originally published in 2009, and then the second edition was published in 2021. It's called Mama Got Rhythm, Daddy Got Rhyme, and it's illustrated by Mario Moore. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Mario Moore, you definitely need to check out his artwork. He this was his first illustrated work that he did, and he completed it while he was still a student at the College of Creative Studies in Detroit, but now he's gone on. His art is all over the world, and he's just really grown as an artist. And so his work is amazing. And I encourage you to purchase the book for the holidays. It's available at Barnes and Noble. You can order it online, or you can also order it on Amazon. It's available at Walmart too. So those are just a couple of places where you will be able to find it. And I'm proud to say that next year I actually have a second children's book that will be published, and it's called Jazz a Bit, an original jazz alphabet. And it's yes, and it's actually going to be the first time that my work has been translated into another language. So last year, before I transitioned out of the classroom, I was awarded a United States Fulbright Hayes GPA Brazil Fellowship, and I went with 10 other professionals, 10 other teachers from Michigan and Florida to Brazil for 1 month to do research. And I created a bilingual curriculum while I was there. I worked on creating a bilingual curriculum that's now being used by DPSCD. And when I was there, I also became connected to the arts community in Brazil, specifically in Salvador, Bahia. And we studied Portuguese before we left for our month stay there. So I had an opportunity to connect with different artists in the creative space. And out of that, not only was I able to do my research, but the relationship that I developed with my now publisher came about from that. So next year in July, I'm returning to Salvador Bahia for the release of my second children's book, Jazzabet, an original jazz alphabet, and it's being published in Portuguese and in English. It's a bilingual text, and I'm so excited.
I'm so excited for you, and that's such great news. And what a tremendous accomplishment to be able to have it translated into different languages. So keep up the
That's
great
right.
work. I see a couple of more images back here. I want to pop up for you. Let's see. What is this?
Yes, that's our VC Lane Goods weekender bag. I actually have one here with me. It's right next to me. I use it wherever I go. I actually use it as a purse, and I always get so many compliments
It's
on it.
gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. It's actually an original art design, abstract art design of my own, and it's available online at vclanegoods.com.
Let me
And
put that
so,
up here. Let me see. So VC Lanes is your website.
VC,
Well, I see info vclanesgoods.com. VC
that's right.
VESEY for the audio podcast listeners is VESEYLANES goods.com. Okay.
Yes, so it's vclanegoods.com, and you can order it
Is there an
there.
S
And
or no? Is
there's
there
no S on lanes, so
oh,
it's
let me
just,
take that off. Hold on.
no, 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 no. You have it right on the screen. It's VC Lane Goods. It's an S on the end of goods, but just not an S on the end of lanes.
Okay, yeah, let's correct that. I don't have that correct. So that way people get to you properly. It's VCVESEYLANE
With
goods.com.
that.
Yeah.
That's right, correct. And it's one of our best sellers. And so it's my abstract artwork in print. And that's one of the things that I do within my business. I create the original designs for my goods. So I'm not only a literary artist, but I'm also an abstract and collage artist. And the work that you had on the screen, yes, that is called Queen Elizabeth's Christmas, and it is a Christmas card that is framed. And what you see is actual leather. I use actual leather, and I adhere it to the card, and I use vintage images in the design. And this is from last year's greeting card line, but we brought it back this year because it was really popular, and it was one of our best sellers. And what I started to do is to frame some of the designs that I make, because when I would ask customers, well, who are you giving your card to, and who are you going to send it to? And they would say, sometimes they would say, oh, I'm not sending this to anyone. I'm going to keep it for myself, and I'm going to frame it. And
Right.
so then I started saying, okay. And it gave me the idea to start not only selling my cards individually, but also selling them in frames too.
I love that. So you're actually putting the card in a frame and you're also sending the cards so that people can send them out for real. And we
That's
can get
right.
that at VCLanesGoods.com.
That's right. That's right. And we also offer several different services to businesses and community organizations. So, for example, we have a service that we provide to bed and breakfasts, where if you want a special gift to give to your guests, you can hire us to design a custom branded greeting card. Also, our anniversary cards are really popular with bed and breakfasts. If you're in the Detroit area, you can go to the Inn on Ferry Street, which is on Ferry Street in Detroit. And with your stay, if you and your special loved one have an anniversary, all you have to do is just let them know that you have an anniversary, and it comes with your room.
Oh,
It comes with your stay. And so and I make them by
unbelievable.
hand.
Unbelievable. Now, if you're listening to this and you're in one of the 100 countries and 350 million households, that you won't probably be in Detroit right now, but it's okay. If you're right in the Detroit, Michigan area, then definitely do what Robin is saying. All right.
That's right. And even if you're not in the Detroit area, but if you have a special place that you like to vacation, a bed and breakfast, tell them about our company. And if you really love our cards, reach out to us. We would be more than happy to work with you and provide that service to the guests that you serve.
That's outstanding. Outstanding. Listen, I want to make sure you all know too that our program, which comes on Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, it is only thriving through contributions from community members and viewers like yourselves, audio listeners. You can Cash App Kim Jacobs Inc. if you're interested in supporting the broadcast. And you can also go to paypal.me/Kim Jacobs Inc. We have Venmo at the Kim Jacobs Show, Patreon membership, you name it. Any way that you want to give towards the program, please do so. And there are no dollar amounts that are too small or too large, because everybody always say, no dollar amount too small. There ain't no dollar amount on my glasses. There's no dollar amount that's too large either. So go ahead and pour into the broadcast, okay? We're going to take a commercial break and come back and hear a closing comment from you, Robin. You have been nothing short of amazing and sharing your information. And I know you have a speaking engagement, so we're going to honor that as well. Hey, I do know before we take a break that there's somewhere that's one of your bucket list items, Senegal, West Africa.
That's right.
So what makes
Yes.
that be on your bucket list? Tell us that before commercial break.
Oh my goodness. Before I was accepted for the Fulbright Hayes Fellowship in Brazil, when I was at the University of Michigan, Dearborn, I was the first African American female from the Dearborn campus because there's three campuses. So I'm noting that it was from the Dearborn campus to become a alternate candidate for a Fulbright GPA fellowship to Senegal. And that year, they did not pick anyone for Senegal. I don't know if it was related to funding, but I have had that desire to go to Senegal for quite some time. It's a francophone country, and there's so much rich history there. And I point out it's a francophone country because I used to teach French kindergarten, French at the Foreign Language Immersion and Cultural Studies School in Detroit. And so that's why I wanted to go there, because there's so much rich history and they speak French.
And this final picture before we take our commercial break.
Yes, this is a picture that was taken by a beautiful young photographer that I've known since she was little, Alyssa White. Or I should say Sutton, because she just got married just like 3 months ago.
Congratulations, Alyssa
Yeah,
Sutton.
yes, Alyssa Sutton took this picture of me in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We were at one of my favorite bookstores, and I just really appreciate her. She's
Aw.
awesome.
Awesome, awesome. Listen, we're going to take a final commercial break and come back and hear a quick closing comment from Robin Wilson. We'll be right back.
Why learn about health when you can experience it? Experience it in beautiful Florida in February 2024. Join us for 3 days of integrative and intensive health and healing education and empowerment with the expertise of the following Healthopedia author, speaker, and facilitators. The world-renowned homeopath and acupuncture physician, Dr. James Marinakis, 4-decade health coach and holistic nutritionist, Dr. Joe D. Bear, and others such as Kimberly Meredith, Dame Doria Cordova, Rex Sykes, Dr. Gary Sanchez, Jamie Kerr, Serena Brown-Travis, and more. Experience daily morning walking and yoga, interactive participation, panel discussions, and more for your own epiphany of health. Get your tickets now.
All right. We are back and we're going to get a closing comment. Make sure you reach out to Dr. Joe D. Bear about this Healthopedia event that's happening, 1-800-820-0584, or you can visit drjod.com to learn more about this epic, pretty much retreat is what's happening, and a getaway that's going to change your life. All right. Tell us a closing comment so you can get out of here and go do a bang up job at your speaking event.
Thank you. Well, first, I just want to say thank you for having me on and for allowing me to share my journey with your listening audience. And for the listeners, I would just say, if there's one thing that I hope that you take away from the conversation that we've had today, is just that, sometimes we may experience hardships in life. There may be things that we have to overcome. But again, I'm going back to what I said earlier today. If you have breath in your lungs, you have purpose. And so beyond achieving wealth or success, find your purpose, make the most of your dash, because we all have a time that we come into this world, and we have a time that we will leave, and we don't know when that time will be. So make the most of your dash, and if you have breath in your lungs, you have purpose.
Awesome. What's your topic today when you get ready to go speak in the next 5 minutes here?
I am going to speak to the Rotary Club of Dearborn about my travels back to Brazil. They invited me to come and speak, and I'm going to perform my poem for them. And I'm going to share with them about my work around literacy in the community and why I want them to partner with me for the Brazil trip.
Epic. Go bang, knock it out the park. Have a great one, everybody. See you tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're awesome, Robin. Go do your thing. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show and for being in the virtual studio audience. Your presence truly does make a difference, and I look forward to you bringing your friends and family to join you in the virtual studio audience Monday through Friday.